Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One-Word Conversations. One-Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship-building conversation designed to help us look at words, how words can help us connect or disconnect. And the more that we're willing to have a conversation with that one word, the more that we can see how that word is landing for people, or if it's triggering people or doing all the things. Sometimes we can conjure up all the lovely words that that we can think of and not realize that some of those lovely words have a totally different meaning for other people. So that's what we do within the conversation of one word. One-Word Conversation is brought to you by I Am William Brown, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. And one way that I spotlight what's available at I Am William Brown, the store, is our U-Cards. Our U-Cards are intention-setting cards. They're also a game. They're just fun. I invite you to go to IamWilliamBrown/the store, our store, to get your cards. So the cards that I picked for this conversation is I am seen, you are full of grace, and the quote card is before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. That is Jeremiah 1:5 from the Christian scriptures. So now here's the moment where I invite you to like, share, comment, ask questions, subscribe, do all those things to let me know that there is value within this conversation. So I'm going to introduce a word that I'm probably going to mispronounce a couple times during that, but I just wanted to put that out there. But this is a great word for us to jam to today. Attaché. It sounded close, right? It got to that. So as I do, I invite my guests to come in so we can have a conversation together. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, William?
I am doing great. This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Well, good morning. My name is Deevo, and you almost got that word right.
Almost.
But I've heard worse pronunciations, so don't go for that. It's pronounced R, like the letter R.
Okay.
Arete.
Arete. Got it.
Arete. And so you didn't butcher it. It's good. So anyway, good morning. Thank you for having me. And I'm glad we got to do this finally, because last time we got interrupted by Duke Power. They cut our power. It wasn't because I didn't pay my bill. I promise. The whole thing went out. So I believe that it was worth waiting for, and I'm glad we were able to have the opportunity to get back online.
Wonderful. So how does the Arete, it's like variations of this word will come out throughout their conversation. How does that land for you?
Arete it's a Stoic term that was written by Marcus Aurelius. He is a leading Stoic author, philosopher. I believe he was also an emperor. And it is the self-expression of the highest version of yourself in every moment. And I've had this word in my lexicon for some time, but it kind of got tabled because of everything else going on. And I brought it back out today. And interestingly enough, as I told you at the outset of this call, every day I write, if you can get me in the camera, I write a word on my arm. I have lots of tattoos, but this is my mobile tattoo, if you will.
Wow.
That kind of helps me focus through the day, things that I need to recall, or things that I need to focus on, or things that are of importance to me. Kind of like my daily cathartic journal word, if you will. And I've really been struggling with what's going on the planet right now. And I won't get into my personal philosophies unless you ask me to, but I've been struggling primarily with where do I fit in the puzzle. I have a large social media following and platform, and a decent following of people that subscribe to my daily posts and whatnot. And traditionally, they're very positive and filled with affirmations of light and things like that. And I always wanted to just kind of, I view my social media as a beacon for people.
Absolutely. Got it.
But given what's going on, it's started to take a darker state. And I've been struggling with, where do I fit in all of this? Like, what's my personal moral responsibility to share what I believe to be the depths of truth?
Right.
And there's so much negativity swirling around right now, around everything, the politics, the corona, everything. And I didn't know where I fit on that.
Right. I really appreciate that, because I try to show up that way also on my social media. I don't have too large of a following yet. I'm still in the growing stages, but there is definitely a sense that, like you said, a beacon. I want people to, if they go through how I show up on social media, to kind of feel like, I want to say there is an escape, or there is another way. There is another conversation being had other than something that sometimes it gets very easy. And so I really have embraced that, we're on this self-discovery journey alone with others, right? And so the more that I learn more about myself, or willing to learn more about myself, then I can share myself with other people. And so when there's difficult moments, like, what's going on in our society, and how people are showing, basically are showing up or are not showing up, I can just be myself. And however, my current understanding of myself, and not get so caught up in many cases, it feels like the fear of, it's not that there's more uncertainty, is this our awareness of the uncertainties that are in our life that is causing people to show up. I don't even want to say badly, but I think there is, they're not their best self. Let's just say that they're not. I don't think themselves. I don't think that they're themselves. I think that they are more of their labels, or what they believe people want them to be, instead of really embracing what's going on for them.
Yeah, it's all very astute. That's the funny thing about social media. It gives you the position of, albeit small in most cases, the position of power and authority, because never before have you had the opportunity to speak to 7.5 billion people for free, right?
Right.
And if you have the opportunity, I wrote about this yesterday on Instagram. I invite you to respond and comment on it. I'd love your feedback on it. But
okay.
if you use your power or your platform responsibly, with efficacy, with inspiration, with honor and integrity and authenticity, you have the opportunity to reach a large swath of people who are looking, grasping, trying to find something right now that they can get behind.
Right.
And the converse is just as true. You can use that in a negative, deleterious capacity, and corruption and all the different things that you're seeing swilling around the planet right now. Right. And so Arete was my word that came from my weekend in Sedona this past weekend, where I was working on a project out there. And I hiked to the top of Cathedral Rock, and, say what you will, call it a placebo or not, but there was a enigmatic presence everywhere I went in Sedona that I could cut with a knife.
Right.
And wow. I really have been struggling leading up to that trip on what is my role on social media as it pertains to Corona and politics and all the stuff going on. And the word that kept coming to me, and came to me again this morning in my meditation, was Arete, is expressing your highest version of yourself in every moment. And what does that mean to me authentically? And that means shedding the truth, talking about my truth, my light, how I feel about things, but right. doing that as a disruptor for peace and harmony and light, rather than seeds of chaos and anarchy and violence, because I don't believe in any of that.
Right. It's I guess what's coming up for me is, I don't know if you can see in the background, one of the few commissioned art pieces that I've gotten done. And there is a street sign. And there's like one of the streets is influence, and the other of the streets is mediocrity. And it's like, what street are you going to go down today? And there's a large part of, to give you a feedback on what you post about how we show up for each other on social media, and the power, even, small p, I guess, power that we have that can turn into a big P, depending on your level of influence and your level of impact. My desire is I embrace influence opposed to impact, because there's a part of me that still wants to give people or recognize or acknowledge that people have a choice to listen to what I'm saying or not.
I like that.
So I can influence how people show up online or not, right? But the more that I am willing to show up as myself, right? To speak what's currently true to me, the more that I can enter into conversations like this and others to say that, hey, right now this sucks. There's a lot of things that have this like negative energy, and I don't want to stay in this place. How has it shown up for you? And so the more that I'm willing to be of an influence to give people the space to kind of show up as their unique self and authentic self, then we're really having a conversation versus just, one political label is talking to another political label and just kind of defending that versus standing up for each other. And so the more that I embrace the big and the small influences by just showing up, then I can. I guess there's a saying that I can have, high expectation and low attachments, right? And so some of my postings, it's like, oh, this is great, this is wonderful, it's going to be well received, and it gets very few likes or comments or all that kind of stuff. And the more that I have low attachments to that, I'm just sharing what I'm sharing.
Well, it's interesting. All brilliant points. When you have an attachment to something, you have an expectation around it, right? And when you have an expectation around it, rarely does anything actually follow through on what the perceived expectation should be or the outcome should be. Very rarely does that actually happen. It's when you learn to detach from the outcome and you just authentically show up on a daily basis that you'll start to see some sort of wheels start to turn with people. I think I was asked this question yesterday by someone wanting to know a couple of questions about social media. And she was saying, I never really know what to post because, very similar to what you just said, some people like it, some people don't like it. Sometimes I get nobody commenting on anything. And my response to that is, social media is no different than showing up at a party with your friends and you're part of a conversation or you're not part of a conversation, or you meet people at the water cooler and you're either mum or you engage with people. And being on social media for me is consistently being there, being consistent about how I share my thoughts and my insights on things. And it's okay to take a position, because if you're speaking to everybody, you're speaking to no one. And eventually the people that you truly want to speak to, the people that truly resonate with your brand, they'll start to find you. It's just a matter of time. And so you're doing exactly, in my opinion, what I think you should be doing, which is being your authentic. And that word is overly used, authentic.
Right.
That should be a show.
Absolutely.
It's so overly used now, but it at its core, it's a genuine word. And I think the more you do show up authentically, the more you'll start to see bandwidth and that fullest expression of what you're trying to become.
Right. I have dropped, my best self. I've dropped authentic self, and it's to just kind of be myself. If I am myself, that's the best. But I think there is too often, because of distractions, because of labels, because of a lot of other ways that I show up, that I recognize that I'm not being myself, right? I'm not, I have, I look at my label of, black male, my labels of black male, and I try to show up as a black male, whatever that means, right? And when I do that, I am not being myself, in my opinion. I am embracing this narrative and trying to live up to this narrative and this story of what a black male should care about, say, be, all that other kind of stuff. And then people miss me. They miss William. And so sometimes I feel like if I don't show up as those labels, then I don't care enough for I'm not passionate about those labels to do that. And then that's the wrong thing too, right? For me.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether you're black or you're white or you're Hispanic or you're gay or you're lesbian or you're whatever you are,
right?
Those are all just societal dictations that have been applied to people. They're labels. And once Soren Kierkegaard said, she's an author, a playwright, I think, she said, once you label me, you negate me. And what she meant by that is you negate all of the potential and the possibilities of who I actually am. I'm not white. I'm not male. I'm not young. I'm not old.
Right.
I'm this person and all of that people. And
right.
So it's a great point. And you're not black male in your 50s or your 40s. You're a thoughtful, provocative, insightful podcaster, educator, human. You're a human that has so many different onion layers, like an onion, and you're expressing yourself in all those different versions. And as soon as we call you just one thing, it's limiting to what your potential can become.
Right. And I think that's and like I said, and I appreciate that when staying within the conversation, because I've embraced that I am my labels and I'm not my labels at the same time. So the more that I can recognize that I will show up as a black male sometimes, but that's not.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it's labels aren't good or bad. It's just what we make them mean. And the recognize that my meaning of what being a black male means, what it means to be a black male, can change, can evolve, can grow. It's the same thing of the labels that I see for you.
Yeah, and your version and your meaning of a black male to you is different to me, who is labeled as a white male. And
absolutely.
because I didn't grow up in the context of your being and your history and how you were raised and how your parents spoke to you and whatever they called you and all those different things.
Right.
I can't possibly begin to understand your background or who you are or your position on many things. But as long as I stay open-minded about it and willing to hear what you have to say and willing to understand your position and realize that there is no such thing as an extreme one way or the other, most everything is sorts of levels of grays and in-betweens,
right,
then I think we're off to a good start. If more humans could do that, it would probably be a happier world.
Right. And I think that the challenge is for us to be our best selves is that there are, I don't want to say there's forces. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the right word for it, but it feels like there are systems and forces that don't want us to be ourselves, just wants us to show up as our labels, right? It's the more that because we can sell, I can sell to a label, right? I can, I can, pigeonholed or kind of demonize a label.
Well, the entire algorithm of digital asset and marketing and media is based upon a label. It's based upon a sequence of numbers and labels that defines who you are, your search history, your shopping history, your friend history, all those different things. Right. And that algorithm actually makes you just part of a sheep in the crowd to market that back to you. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And it's like too often, you know, I miss amazing human beings because I'm so conditioned to kind of lump people together. And I don't know if it's just, is it our brains, or is it capitalism, or is it, you know, it's just like, you know, it's all of the things to kind of, it's fighting against us showing up as our best self.
Well, that's the chicken or the egg argument. Is it capitalism? Is it our brains? Your brains are a byproduct of the capitalism society that you live in and the marketing that you've been force-fed from day one. 0 to 7 years is your most formative years of your life. And depending upon your parents and the cycle of growth that they went through and the style of parenting that they adhered to and the schoolmates that you ran around with and the school that you went to and the job that you took, all of those things are forces, outside forces, that are constantly bombarding you with think tank information. And so you just become a cog in the wheel. And I truly believe that our purpose on this planet, whether you believe in God, Jesus, Allah, or anyone else, it's irrelevant. I believe our purpose here is to continually express our best version of ourselves in every single way, every single day. And the more you can do that, the more you tend to evolve, the more you tend to awake, the more you tend to step outside that think tank, that cog in the wheel mentality.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's, within my coaching, I invite people to have an actionable awareness of themselves. And I think that the reason why I frame it that way is most of the times when in the past, when I've tried to find myself, I like stopped, right? You know, there's no longer action. Because it's like, I can't do anything until I have this, you know, this image of who I am. And I think we miss really showing up for each other. I think, I'll speak for myself, I miss showing up in my relationships and my work when I just stop. Look, I understand that there's pauses to kind of figuring out who we are, and, you know, Sedona, or, you know, the woods or the beach or something, that the places that we say that we need to find retreat. But I'm realizing that the more that within my practice, I have a meditation practice of taking 20 minutes or 15 minutes of just kind of centering myself and say, okay, this is who showed up today, and this is who is going to go into the world and be a part of it. Instead of saying, yeah, I have no idea who showed up today, and I don't want to be around people. I don't want to do anything. I just want to shut it down until I can kind of label or identify who's going to show up today. And I miss really the whole and completeness of my life, right? And recognizing that there are currently parts of myself that I may not like, I may not understand, I may not appreciate, but they're still a part of me.
I love that. And I love that daily meditative practice. I have something similar I do in the morning that you might appreciate. I make a list of how a word or an ideal of how I want to show up today for myself. And then I write, who do I need to show up for today? And I kind of check in to that mentally throughout the day. And then at the end of the night, I grade myself on how I showed up for myself and how I showed up for that person that I listed. And it could be anyone. It could be your mother. It could be your daughter. It could be your best friend. It could be your business partner. How do you want to show up for that person? And how do you want to show up for yourself each day? And I found, and I'm guilty of not sustaining or fulfilling that. But I found that more often than not, if I can constantly jog myself and have sort of a check-in on that, that I'm really able to kind of stay in that space, stay in that lane, and focus on the things that I wanted to accomplish that day. So it's been helpful for me.
I think that's a beautiful way of doing that. And it's like, I'm going to steal that. No, it's like, it's put out there. It was a gift that was freely given. So it's like, but there's this mentality that, oh, it's yours, and now I want it too, right? Boy, that's just the language that I have that I'm still kind of working through. But
well, you know, I'd like to go back to your point you said earlier. Is it capitalism, or is it your brain? And you know, it's unfortunate, but we all used to live, and this is not my soapbox, but you know, humans once lived in a interactive and engaged community capacity. We were an indigenous people that lived amongst each other in a small frameworks of groups of communal living, and we lived symbiotically with the land, and we farmed and we hunted only what we needed, and we helped each other out, and the old people raised our kids while we went out and did all the things that we did. And then we came along with this Western ideal of capitalism, and we decided that competition and was greater than collaboration, and we decided that we needed to be forces over everyone instead of just working harmonious with each other. And this is thousands of years ago, and your brains have our brains over time have adapted to take on that ideology that this is the only way to survive. And Darwin had it completely wrong. There's no such thing as survival of the fittest. Like, you can see it in nature. Like, nature works together. And yes, there are lions that kill antelope, but the lion doesn't go out and kill expeditiously just to kill. It goes out to survive. And in so doing, it keeps the harmony of the land in check. Like, there's study after study that proves this fact. You know, Yellowstone National Park was in complete disarray for the last 50 years because the apex predator, which kept everything in alignment, was gone, the wolf. And when they reintroduced the wolf into Yellowstone National Park, the entire park is flourishing. And it's because everything within that park worked in a community capacity, a symbiosis. And humans were designed to be that way. But somewhere thousands of years ago, that was disrupted. And I won't go into my theories on why, because that's a rabbit hole. But, you know, I believe now, this time that we're living in, this perceived chaos, this perceived anarchy, part of it is by design, but I believe that it's also necessary to reawaken us from our slumber. And I do believe that there is a burgeoning of society once again, and that we are at the end of this 25,000 year reign of competition, if you will. And I think that people need this catalyst to waken up to what the new dawn is actually bringing us. Sorry, that was a bit esoteric. I know you didn't want to go there.
Oh no, I go down many rabbit holes, and sometimes they're rat holes, right? But you don't realize what's down there until you go, right? You know, it's like, oh crap, you know. So no, I totally get that. And there are moments that I fight about, you know, showing up my authentic self, right? With what I see, what I feel about this moment, this climate. It's like, even though I see chaos and I see confusion, I see fear, all that other kind of stuff, within me there's this resetting. And it's like, am I going to embrace the reset and the awareness that I have of my life and how I'm showing up and not showing up? Or am I going to be so concerned and so consumed by this chaos and all the things that is happening? I have been dealing with since September, you know, a pain in my neck, and I get treatment for and all that. But it got so bad that I lost feeling in my right hand. And so I go to a holistic chiropractor. And because I made that choice because I felt that, I don't know, there was something within me that said that, hey, you cannot just take a pill to get rid of this pain. I want you to sit. I think we need to sit in this pain to find out where it's coming from. And I had my my doctor say that, hey, there is some pent up rage in your neck. And it's like, and I was like kind of upset about that, actually, because it was like, dude, I'm this like peace, love, you know, giving people grace. And I feel like my coping skills were like on point, that, you know, I'm even kill. And to feel like my body was like going against me because I was like holding these feelings in of rage. So it was like, all right, let's just kind of like work with this and kind of go out. And now, you know, I said all that to say that even in the place of healing, right, there's still pain, but I'm being healed at the same time. And there was a part of me that wants to think that once I decide that everything is going to be fine, everything is just fine, and there's no more pain. But that's not the truth, right? You know? And so while I'm embracing healing and while I'm embracing what's going on within myself, I am learning more about myself, and I'm growing, and there's an awareness that is causing me to really feel the pain and release the pain at the same time. And so I think this is, I brought that up because of what you were saying, that this reset that is happening for us, are we collectively going to really own that we have been given a gift to kind of collectively come together, be there for ourselves and others, or we are going to kind of wait for the all clear so we can go back to our quote unquote normal life?
Where do I begin with that? So in answer, you're not asking me a question, but I'm going to just give you my thoughts. Your pain in your neck, it's 100% true. Whoever is giving you that advice is spot on. You know, our body is made of a cellular structure of DNA that is constantly fluctuating. It doesn't stay. We used to think DNA was static and that we're living in these cellular organisms that never changed, and that's absolutely not true. Like 100% science, and it's called epigenetics. If you're not familiar with this common term, Dr. Joe Dispenza is like one of the leading doctors on the frontier of this. It's called epigenetics, and epigenetics is basically the idea that our cellular structures, our DNAs, are in constant fluctuation based upon observable observations. And what that means is that, nothing is static. Everything is constantly in a state of fluctuation, and you can change the outcome of what you want that to be based upon how heavily you actually observably believe in it. And your body holds on to pain and holds on to memory and holds on to all of these experiences that have caused you, whether they're hard experiences, miserable experiences, and it holds on to that, and it expresses itself in trauma through different pain points in your body. And the healing of that is possible. Like I know of multiple people in my existence right now that have literally cured themselves of cancer through changing their diet and changing their emotional habits and daily meditation and prayer and all those sorts of things. And so there are so many different rabbit holes we can go down on that. So I'm glad you're seeing somebody for that. The other piece I wanted to touch on is you talked about pushing through things or just sitting idly by and watching it as it unfolds. And, passivity is probably the greatest form of compliance you can possibly have, because whether you agree or disagree to something is great. And I'm not saying your opinion is right or wrong, but I'm saying if you have an opinion about something, you recognize that something is occurring in your life and there's an injustice occurring, whether in your body or whether in the community or whether in the political stratosphere that is swilling around us right now. If you sit in silence and don't do anything about it and don't express your authentic opinion about it, you're just as liable for the corruption as anyone else not doing something about it. And so Pema Chodron, she's a brilliant author. If you've never heard of her, I encourage you to read her book. She talks about Pema Chodron. And are you familiar with her?
I have not. I was just trying to get the name in my head. Okay.
Pema saved my life. I'm ready to do that for you. I was at a very low point in my life many years ago, and Pema Chodron, some of her books, When Things Fall Apart specifically, which is a great metaphor for today's world. Right. When things fall apart, people are so quick to pop the pill, to run from the pain, as opposed to working through the pain and working through the darkness. And I think darkness in of itself has been given such a negative connotation, but you can't have light without dark, right? So I think I'm going somewhere with this. I kind of got sidetracked, but kind of like pushing through the darkness, pushing through the moment. I'll let you start. I'll stop there.
I definitely appreciate it. There was a conversation that I had a week ago. It was with a Canadian, but they were talking about, there was a report recently that came out that I think it was like 70% of people, how they were dealing with the pandemic was through, addiction was going higher, and there's a lot of self-medication, and there's a lot of things to let people know that they weren't handling it well. Let's just say that, right? And there has been with everything that people have been talking about, no one has, I don't think consistently, we haven't been talking about how people have been handling it, because our coping skills, how we handle or not handle things usually is that excess of take a pill, smoke something, drink something, just
dull it.
Right. And then you realize that it is still a part of our life. It's still a part. And like I said, I don't know if it's just a level of awareness that I'm at now in my life, that there was something within me that said, don't take a pill right now. You can't just do that. And I can remember when I was talking to my mom and telling her about, what was going on. And I told her that, hey, I'm doing affirmations, and, I'm seeing the chiropractor. And she was like, well, you're not opposed to taking a pill, are you? And I was like, no, Mom. She says, because I don't want to see you hurting unnecessarily. Right. That's what she said to me. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm not planning to take a pill. But if it gets so bad, I will promise you that I will. I haven't gotten to that place where that will, but I think to get my mom off the phone, I had to say that. But sometimes we have to do stuff like that, because, nobody wants to, pain, right? No one wants to just suffer, right? But our suffering is a gift in some way, but sometimes we cause it. And I think I'm just starting a loop myself, but it's like I realize that I am not my best when I'm holding on to something that is no longer working for me. It no longer has, and I can feel it. I just recently moved, and I used to say that, oh, I hate moving. And I realized the more that I was sitting with that, it's not that I hate moving. I hate packing, because it is those micro decisions that I have to make about, is this valuable? Do I need to take this with me? Do I, and it's just like, so most of the times I don't make those decisions, and I just throw everything in,
Well, that's exactly what I meant by the epigenetics of observation, and that which we resist persists.
Right.
So all of those things that you abhor doing, the more you focus on them, the more that actually manifests itself into your being. It's true. That's not woo-woo. That's reality. That's science. I mean, it's factually true. And
right.
So I have a 14-year-old daughter who is at that age where everything is swilling around in her body, and she's going all the hormones, and now that we're quarantined and she's out of school, she doesn't have her social circle, and all these things are going on, and she's struggling with it, as are 3.5 million other teenage girls of her same age. And I don't have any advice for her. I'm not a therapist, nor am I a doctor, but I do know one thing, that the more she continues to talk about how much she hates being at home, the more she continues to talk about how she misses her friends, the more she continues to talk about how life just sucks right now, the more that just becomes part of her daily habit of being. Right. Whereas taking a walk outside and enjoying the sunset, or dancing in the rain, or just reading a good book or putting on some good music and just doing things that you can push through the misery, push through the pain, completely changes your forecast and your outlook on everything. And I'm not saying that that's going to treat massive amounts of depression and that you shouldn't get some sort of treatment for it if you're depressed, but there are alternatives to taking pills that are just as effective. And if you go down that pill route, guess what? Your body will quickly adapt to that, and you're going to have to start adding more pills to that. And that's how the entire pharmaceutical industry survives. So I'm glad you didn't take that pill.
Right. Well, thank you. And like I said, I really, like I said, I think I'm at a place in my self-discovery journey is that I want to experience my life. I want to be in my life. I don't want to numb things. I don't want to stay in the habit of numbing my way through my life, because then I'm not living anymore. And there is no access to my life.
And your life is, sorry to interrupt, but your life isn't always going to be perfect, right, William? You're going to have misery. You have to understand what that feels like so that you can appreciate what the converse of that feels like, right?
Right. And we are, I feel like I've been conditioned to not one, acknowledge misery or to kind of deal with it, right? Type of thing. It's just like eliminate it. Okay, this is uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable right now, so we have to eliminate this. And I just realized that there have been so many relationships, opportunities, ideas that I have short circuited because there was some pain, or there was some discomfort, or there was some, and it's like I've missed really experiencing more of my life and more of what is possible. I realize that there have been there were so many areas of my life that I would say came easy to me. Easy to the point that I just did things and it pretty much went the way I thought it would, until it didn't, right? And then it was like, oh crap. And then I had no experience of dealing with when things don't go your way, right? It's like, do you like cry? Do you kind of get mad? Do you kind of get, all that, all the things. It's like, I'm in my 40s, like doing hissy fits and in tantrums because things aren't going my way, right? And I recently had a failing business. I lost over $500,000 because instead of saying this has failed, I kept on saying this cannot fail. I work things out. I figure things out. So I just kept on throwing money at it. And it's like, instead of just acknowledging that, okay, this was a good idea, now it's not a good idea, and it's done. What am I going to learn from this so I can make different choices? Instead of just going down the wrong road and just continue to go down the wrong road, and just do that because that was the only thing that I needed to do. And I think I didn't have access to my best self because there was this former self that I just held on to. And it almost cost me my marriage. It cost me a business. And I'm so glad that I let it go so I can be where I am today.
Well, it's, and I'm glad you found that and have discovered that self-awareness. But, from day one, we're taught that failure is never an option. Like, truthfully, that's everything. Our competitive state, our sports that we play in,
right?
Everything we do, from getting the best grades to getting better grades to getting valedictorian to being, leader of your class to being all these different things we're taught. And we expect that everybody thinks and learns the same way and achieves the same way. And if you don't, you're a failure. And failure is not an option. You're a bad, bad man if you fail.
Right.
And so we grow up with that. We grow up with that, and we forget that there is no such thing in life that is permanent, with the exception of impermanence. And so you might lose another business, and you might get divorced, and you might lose a loved one, and you might fail at considerably more things in your life. But I believe that you have to go through those experiences so that you can understand what the other side of it feels like.
Right.
And hopefully in so doing, you evolve and become a better version of yourself because of that experience. And that's what Arete is expressing the highest version of yourself at every single moment of your life.
Right.
And so
right.
it's not a lot of people pick up on that lesson that you just learned, by the way.
Right. Wow. You know, I think we can talk about this for hours, but yeah, I think the world needs us. We need to now with this awareness, we just need to be out there in our life. So is there any one last thing? I mean, you've dropped a lot of knowledge, as I say, right? Within this conversation. Is there any last thing you want to leave everybody with?
Well, I would like you all to invite me on my Instagram feed. And I don't say that narcissistically. I truly believe that communally together, we can make it through what we're going through right now. I believe that there are forces that are working against us. I believe that this has to occur, but I don't think that we should just take it lying down. In order for us to understand what's actually unfolding before our eyes, we have to wake up to what's actually happening. And in order to do that, we have to be willing to step outside the version we're being told and realize that there is always an alternative story and an alternative outcome to everything. And I have decided that I'm going to use my social media for that purpose. And I welcome feedback. I welcome interaction and engagement. I'm following and engaging and reposting some ridiculously amazing people's content that are also trying to do the same thing. And we've formed this sort of social media community through Instagram where we're all sharing each other's content and commenting and letting more people see. And it's kind of the concept of compounding, right? You have 1, you compound to 2, you multiply to 4, you multiply to 8, it just keeps squaring over and over. And that's the power of expression, right? That's the power of Arete, is that we all come together, working together to express our highest versions of ourselves and our community every single day. And I would encourage everybody, if I can leave you this second final thought. Bob Marley said this, Black Jesus. Every single moment of our lives, we're presented with an option to make a choice about how we're going to proceed next. In every situation, you can either do it from a position of love and kindness or a position of hate and power. One takes you down one rabbit hole and the fallout and the cascade, and the other one takes you down an alternative path. I would encourage everyone as we progress through what we're progressing through, that this is not a political situation of Republican and Democrat. It's not a position of Trump and Biden. It's not a position of we versus them. It's a position of all of us working together to figure this out. And if we approach every scenario and every situation from a place of kindness and love, we will find an alternative pathway that will lead us to light. I do truly believe that.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
That would be my final thought.
Yeah, I am with you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting with you on Instagram.
Please do.
And really being a part of that, because that's the light. You know, we are a light, and there is light, but there's those dark moments, but there is the light. So
darkness is not bad. It's the perspective of darkness that makes it bad.
Right. Got it. So thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. I appreciate this chat. It was really wonderful talking with you.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, this is wow. It's I realize, sometimes I feel like I'm an overthinker, and I feel like, I have these clouds in these woo-woo conversations, and it's like too heady conversations. But there is a practicalness to just caring for each other. The more that we're our best selves, our highest self, it's out of love and compassion for each other. First ourselves, but then each other. That's what I'm getting from this conversation. I hope this conversation brought value to you. I invite you to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com to have a complimentary coaching session to help you be yourself and to live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversations.